It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Hashtag Event Icons, presented by Endless Entertainment, the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. So, you might be wondering, how do you get to ask questions? All you have to do is use the question panel on the right of GoToWebinar to submit your questions. Or you can hop on Twitter to submit your questions with the hashtag EventIcons. We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share hashtag EventIcons on Twitter and Facebook. Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com. Now, without any further delay, this is Hashtag Event Icons with your hosts, Will Curran of Endless Entertainment and Laura Lopez of Social Tables.
All right, everybody. I am actually Brant Kruger. I'm stepping in for Will and Laura. Will is enjoying some well-deserved rest, and Laura's enjoying some well-deserved rest, and Will is actually on site with a client this week, so he's paying attention in the chat room, making sure I don't mess things up too much. Like I said, my name is Brant Kruger, and I'm excited to be stepping in here today to guest host this episode of Event Icons. We're being joined today. We're going to talk today about PCMA, the Professional Convention Management Association, being joined by two great guests. I'm excited about this because I really want to learn more about PCMA. It's been on my list of things to do for quite some time now, so it's perfect timing. So I'm going to be learning along just with you guys. Being joined today with Carrie Johnson, who is the Senior Program Manager at PCMA. Carrie's been an educational professional for over 10 years and has worked with at least a dozen different associations before coming to PCMA in 2014. Hello, Carrie. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you, Brant.
All right, we're also being joined today by Shannon D'Souza, who is the Director of Sales and Industry Relations at Attendees. She is one of PCMA's 20 in their 20s, so congratulations on that. Thanks for joining us, Shannon.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, Brent.
All right, look at the rest of your bio here. You are an event tech evangelist, speaker, and thought leader, award-winning event prof, and novice nature lover. It always feels weird to hear your own bio, doesn't it?
I'm also in sales, so I know how to write a good bio.
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Remember, folks, if you've got questions, please be sure and type those into the chat box or the Q&A box in GoToMeeting, or you can also join us, hashtag Event Icons on Twitter, where our good friend Alex will be looking for questions there and helping us retweet and talk about all of the things we're going to learn today on Twitter. So join us wherever you want to join us. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us and get your questions in for Carrie and Shannon's. But I'm going to kick things off a little bit the way that we usually do it. Oh, by the way, apparently if you're on the show at least 3 times, that qualifies you to host. So just so you know, if you want to keep that in mind, that's apparently how I've been able to get involved here. So
This is the last time I'm going to be on the show, by the way.
I want to see if I can get to that.
If you've ever wanted to host your own show, you just have to be on this one 3 times, and then next thing you know, you're on it. So thank you guys again for joining us. I want to start with you, Carrie. What got you into the events industry?
Well, it was primarily by accident because I was working at a music production studio and I got laid off, and so then it kind of forayed into working at an association management company, and that's how I really kind of got into more of the education side of the events industry.
Okay, and Shannon, how about you?
I like Carrie's answer around the accident. I kind of feel that's the same way. I've always worked in tech, and I kind of had 2 full-time jobs. I started my own wedding planning company about 10 years ago. And then, working through the ranks and starting, up weddings, I realized I liked the business side of things more. So I focused on sales. And then I decided, no, I want to go a little bit more corporate. So I ended up finding my previous company, Event Mobi, online, and I wrote this insane cover letter about how, I love events and I'm all about events and I know tech and sales and marketing, and my CEO kind of gave me a call that next day and said, let's figure something out for you, and then all of a sudden here I am, event tech.
That's definitely a story that we hear quite often, is that event people, especially if you've been in it for over 5 or 10 years, just kind of fell into it. It's only been within the last few years that they're actually, schools where you can go to learn this stuff, which I think is great. I mean, at least now, I mean, I think that's a great addition to the industry, but it is kind of funny how so many people, that is the story. We just kind of fell into it. So we're going to be talking today about PCMA, and it's an association. And so before we get into too deep into about what PCMA is all about, I just want to talk kind of generally about event associations, because there's quite a few of them at this point.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of different options out there. Like I said, I've been kind of just had on my list to find out about PCMA because I kept hearing good things about it, but I hadn't gotten around to it because I've been busy with some of the other ones that I'm involved in. So what do you guys think? I mean, is this a time when these people that are first coming out, just coming out of school, they're just getting into the business, why should an event person get involved with one of these event associations? Shannon, what do you think?
Honestly, I can only tell you my story, and it's all about the network. There's a reason why we continue to want to support face-to-face events, and digital is amazing, and I'm part of that technology world, but building relationships in person and building relationships specific to your industry can only be done within a closed-door circle of the right folks, and I think PCMA definitely brings that to the table, and that's why I've really been a part of it.
So the networking end was really the major kind of push for you, was to meet other people in the industry that do what we do.
Yep, and build those relationships, and ultimately we're all trying to do business together. But this way, it's a warm lead, it's a warm touch, and you trust each other. Given, there's all of these things that you can find online, at the end of the day, and Carrie, I'm sure you can speak to this, if something goes off the hook with your event, you want to call on someone you can trust and someone that's going to be there, and that can really only be done through face-to-face and a network and a relationship, because that's just the way human beings are.
And Carrie, what do you think? Why do you think a young professional should be coming in and joining an event association?
Well, I agree with Shannon completely that the networking side of it is crucial. I also would tack on the education side of that too, because you can expand your skill set, whether it's about specific logistics or event strategy, design, business acumen. That's very important as you rise within the ranks of any organization. So to me, it's education, but that's a blend with networking, because if the education that's being delivered is interactive, you are going to be connected with people, whether they're like-minded, they differ in their opinions. You can learn so much from the people who are actually at the event, as opposed to just from the persons on the stage.
Yep, I agree.
And I think that's something that, I mean, when I've been asked, what's your biggest professional regret, mine is almost always not getting involved in the industry earlier. For the better part of 15 years, I was just in my own little world, in my own little bubble, and it wasn't until I got out that I started to see the benefits of getting together with other people that do what we do. And then, like you say, Carrie, the educational, how do we bring up that next generation and keep the people that are currently doing it informed on what the latest trends are and what the latest ways of doing things are, because things are constantly evolving. Yes. So I want to go into, how exactly, Carrie, did you wind up with this association? You said you'd been involved in, what was it, 12 or 1,300 different
No, 100.
association, at least a dozen though. So 12, yes. 12 different associations. How did you finally wind up with PCMA?
So I was at Smith Buckland here in Chicago for about 7.5 years, and I just, it was one of those things where I love the association world, and I just wanted to see what it would be like to work for just one association at a time. And then PCMA has such a great reputation for education, and so I wanted to continue along that path. And it just seemed like the perfect job for me, and to really expand how I look at adult education and learning design and environments and experience. So it was a perfect fit. So I'm very glad to be here.
And Shannon, how did you get involved?
So originally it was about 4 years ago, and the mandate was actually to join from a business perspective. And being, the A-type that I am, I wanted to get super involved, and I'm the type who likes to get onto all the committees. So I immediately joined the communications committee. and I started contributing, and that's where I found like real value. I was the first one to produce a printed newsletter for Canada East, which I'm very proud of still to today. And I felt that I was getting a lot of practical skills, especially from the marketing perspective, that I could put on my resume, that I felt was very helpful. But also along the education side of things, I was able to join Digital Strategy Communications Committee for headquarters, and then that's where I felt like I was really pushing the envelope and contributing to the industry, because it was all around focusing on the education we wanted to produce for all of our members and even non-members, that can maybe be in EduCon or convening leaders or through video, and it was our job to kind of determine what that need was and put those recommendations forward.
Great. Well, we want to remind everybody, if you do have questions for Carrie or Shannon, please do send them in. If you're in the GoToWebinar, you can do that in the chat box, or you can do it via the questions part of the GoToWebinar boxes down there. Otherwise, if you are joining us on Twitter, you can send us a question via #EventIcons, and we can find out a little bit more what you, the audience, wants to know from our distinguished guests. So we covered kind of how you got involved. Like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of different event associations that are out there. What's going to make PCMA different than some of the other industry associations that are out there? What would you say would be the perfect PCMA person to join? Carrie, let's start with you.
Well, in terms of some of the other organizations out there, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Shannon's answer is, because I'm sure she's been to different association events in this industry. What pops out for me is our consistency towards delivering education for the higher level business event professional. That has, since I've been here and beforehand, been with PCMA for 3 years, that's really been the focus across our events, is how we can take the content and bring it up to a strategic place for a majority of it, and the exception is some of those new tech tools or some of those how-tos that people need to continue to have the knowledge that they need and some of the technical aspects of the events. But it's just really just kind of just focusing more on that higher level business event strategist, and then what we do at our events, and I don't know if Shannon or Brant, I don't know if other event industry associations do this, is that we deliberately take risks and try different things and are transparent about it. So some things may not work, and we want the feedback and we share it, and we talk about something that, like in Chicago, we had a learning lounge, and we had it in a big exhibit hall, and we experienced some sound challenges. So what do? We invested in research and figured out, okay, we can use special cloth sound walls, and we can work with our providers and kind of figure out, how to put speakers and different things in different ways to really sort of mitigate some of those sound issues. So, and we talk about it and put it out there and say, here's what we did, here's what we tried, and here's how you can learn from that and think about it differently for your events.
I think that's a great way to do it. Shannon, do you agree? Are those kind of the general types of people that you think should look into PCMA?
I definitely feel, yes, I agree with almost everything Carrie is saying. And for somebody who is looking to stimulate their career and understands that maybe they need more information around where the industry is moving and the type of education that's necessary, PCMA is the perfect opportunity for you. They generally focus on having a more mature crowd there, and so for me, I really enjoy that because it's, I guess, by parallel or parallel learning for me. I get the education, but I get the real life experiences from each of these individuals, and they definitely foster a lot of communication around that and ensuring that we're all sharing information and it's not one directional and they're kind of just lecturing you. So I really enjoy that. I say the perfect person to join is somebody, and this is for any association, somebody who's looking to invest in their career and their industry. There's no point in joining just because you want to get something out of it. You have to be ready to contribute. And then I think that is the right individual to join an association.
I'm definitely seeing some similarities between what you guys are talking about, what I've seen with some of the other industry associations. I think everybody's definitely feeling that, that we need to be more experiential and sharing of knowledge, not just doing something and going, isn't this amazing? Let's look at it as great. But hey, this is why we chose it. This is some of the troubles that we ran into when we were doing it, and here's how you can get around it. Here's what we learned in doing it, and if you want to apply this to your events, here's what we can do. But we are getting some questions in from the audience, so I do have one that is PCMA a global organization, or is it just the U.S.? Gary?
That is a great question. So PCMA is a global organization. We don't have chapters outside of North America. However, what we're doing for different regions like the Asia Pacific region, in Europe, and the Middle East and Americas is that we are bringing event professionals from those areas around the world to different events like Convening Leaders in Our Education Conference through our Global Scholarship Program to really bring them to some of those events. We also, in the future, will be really focusing on some of those different markets and the types of education and experiences that make sense for those particular audiences. So we are a global organization, and we touch those different audiences from either our face-to-face events and also our digital events we have. So the Digital Experience Institute is part of PCMA and really focuses on providing thought leadership in the industry for digital events. And we have hybrid events that last year's Convening Leaders hybrid event had participants from, I believe, over close to 30 different countries. So each year that audience continues to grow, and they continue to engage and through some of those digital events kind of see what experiences they can get out of different PCMA events. So that is a long-winded answer, but yes, we are a global organization.
Sounds like a combination of some scholarships being able to bring people over here to meetings and then being able to attend via digital means, so virtual events, hybrid events, that kind of thing.
Yes, and in terms of our programming, it's been very important, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, to include enough global perspectives, whether it's a speaker from outside of North America or business event professionals who take their events overseas or outside of their home country. So we work with a number of our the relationships with different global organizations that we have to identify those thought leaders and speakers from outside of North America, to bring them in to provide a more of a global perspective as opposed to just North American.
Great. So, I mean, is there any plans to expand chapters into other countries? The person that was asking says that they're from the UK. Is there anything in the future as far as expansion?
I have, hold on, I'm in somebody's office and I got a phone call, so I had to put it on silent. So it wouldn't be necessarily from a chapter standpoint. It's really the plan at this point is event-based. It's also through digital content and really tailoring it to the needs of the different audiences, whether it's podcasts, or articles, or other types of digital newsletters. So it's just really, as opposed to a chapter, going into that particular market and looking at the needs and providing kind of a comprehensive engagement strategy through face-to-face and digital content.
And I have to say that it ties in a lot to what you were saying, Shannon, about taking advantage of these connections and really getting together people, even if it's in virtual events and hybrid events, but still just making those connections, getting exposed to people that aren't from the same country that you are. I had the privilege of attending a conference where I was literally the only guy from the U.S., and that was such a, just to be able to be in a room full of people, from all over the world, is just a mind-opening experience when you're out of, kind of out of your comfort zone and hearing new things. Shannon, I want to touch on something that you, like I said, already kind of mentioned, but how do you recommend people really taking advantage of their association memberships? How do they really kind of take that, run with it? It sounds like you just got involved right away and started, getting your hands in there and getting dirty so I mean, is that the trick, or do you have any other advice as far as how do you really make the most of that?
Yeah, that's the trick for extroverts, I would say. But unfortunately, the whole world isn't an extrovert. So I think understanding your audience, everyone can do it, but do it in different ways. So people like me, hit the room, go to any event that you can, and work the entire room. Get your connections, follow up with them, and build those relationships, whether it be, sharing relevant articles, as small as that, or, looking at the event list before you go to your next event to see if those folks are still there. Those are very, very small tips and tricks, at the very minimum. Of course, they're always looking for volunteers. Everybody always is. So just asking that question, how can I help? And, if you have, say, 15 minutes a week that you can volunteer your time, I'm sure there's something that they can find for you, that'll benefit the entire organization. So that's the second step, I would definitely say. For those folks who are a little bit or more introverted than I am, I would say the first step is just get out the door. Just decide that you actually want to do this. And if you're going to do it, connect. There's always going to be other introverts there. I would say look for folks like yourself and try to make those connections and solidifications from that perspective. The great thing about associations is you're typically going to run into people who've been there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they're always happy to take you under their wing. So just introducing yourself and saying you're new, boom, you'll probably find 5 godmothers who will hook you up and not really have to do anything from that perspective. But also for introverts or quieter people and even extroverts, we have something called PCMA Catalyst. This is where folks, post their questions from the community, just getting involved by trying to respond to some of those questions, or even post, some relevant conversations that you're seeing in the community, or any news clippings or anything that could be helpful. That is the minimum viable, product from that perspective, in my opinion.
And speaking of questions, if you have questions for Carrie or Shannon, be sure and put them into Twitter #event icons, or throw them into the chat. And as we get them in, we will certainly be passing them on. I do want to get to one of the main reasons that you're here, and we're doing this episode right now, and that is to talk about convening leaders, which is something that I have heard many, many good things about, and I keep being told, why aren't you going to convening leaders? Why aren't you going to convening leaders? So January 8th to 11th, so it's coming right up. So, Carrie, you've got nothing better to do right now other than be here right now. So tell us a little bit about convening leaders. First, let's find out from Carrie, just a little bit generally about it, and then Shannon, I would love to hear your experience as you've kind of gone to it, and spoken at it, and from that separate perspective of kind of the outsider not having to run it kind of person. So, Carrie, tell us a little bit about convening leaders and what it's all about.
Sure. So Convening Leaders is taking place in Austin, at the convention center there. And our theme for this year is designing collaboration. And if you can picture it, in the word collaboration, lab is in all caps. So that's really our design principle as well throughout the event, because it really, if you're thinking about the future of the industry and where that's going, there's more and more of an emphasis on collaboration, and not just internally within your teams or across your departments. It's collaboration with your event providers, with just everyone who touches your event, and even someone who, if you want an outside perspective to really help come up with innovative solutions and things like that for your event or your organization. So it's really emphasizing the importance of collaboration and kind of getting out of your comfort zone. On the design side, just event design strategy is really a key piece, and really thinking about their sessions on design thinking and different approaches and methodologies that you can adopt for your own events. And the lab piece is pretty important, because we have our learning lab that is formally, if you're familiar with Convening Leaders, that's Learning Lounge. And so that's really putting an emphasis on sort of those smaller kind of hands-on sessions, different types of activities, and I'll probably go in more depth in a bit on that. But it's really putting the emphasis on sort of getting your hands dirty and thinking about coming to the event, thinking about sort of what are some of your main challenges, what's keeping you up at night with your events, and sort of what's different subject matters or different people do you want to get in front of to really get the most out of the experience. And so really education and building strong relationships, like Shannon was talking about earlier, is really the key emphasis of this event. And it's really that blend of going to the sessions and participating, and a majority of the program is interactive and designed that way intentionally, so you can not only walk away with some tangible takeaways and tips, but also share them, because a lot of the folks at this event have been in the industry 10+ years. They have experience delivering events around the world, and there's folks there that are very high level or are part of that C-suite conversation, and so you can get so much out of not only going to the sessions and contributing, but also hearing from some of those folks, and really just connecting with people at the event. And there's different facets of the event that I know we'll probably get into, and I'll just kind of high level it. So we have, like most events, our breakout sessions and our concurrents, and really these are in terms of popularity, those sessions fill up, and again, it's sort of the focus is on that higher level audience, but then with the promise of delivering actionable takeaways that people can implement when they get back to their organizations after the event. And then we also have our main featured speakers, whether that's for our main stage sessions, aka general sessions. We have thought leader speakers who are from outside of the industry and cover various topics that touch events as we know it, whether it's design, marketing, technology, the workplace, and our business school, which is faculty from for Convening Leaders this year. It's from the McCombs School of Business at the University of Texas at Austin, and they're a prestigious business school with a great executive education program. So we'll have some sessions that are focused more on the different aspects of the business acumen. And then just what's going on in the Learning Lab and Tech Central. I don't know, Brian, if you want to stop me.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah.
I'm going on. See, I'm nerding out.
Whoa. Just add, whoa. No, it's all good. It's all good stuff. She's fast. I do want to get into the Learning Lab and Tech Central, but I just want to ask real quick before we go into that, Shannon. So, what was your experience coming in, kind of as a rookie? What was your first Convening Leaders like? Were you already heavily involved at that point? Just a little bit about what it was like to experience it as an attendee, as an ordinary member. You know what I mean?
For sure. So I've been fortunate enough to travel quite a bit and see many different types of conferences, association, corporate, whatever it may be. And to me, Convening Leaders is definitely a landmark event, and it's something that I can't miss. So it is definitely in my calendar every single year, and they step it up, and they don't fail. It's kind of the South by Southwest for our industry, in my opinion. So it's really awesome that they're in Austin this year. So I'm not just saying
high
that.
Praise, yeah. High praise.
I'm not just saying that, for sure. So as an attendee, it's on point. It's extremely organized, well communicative. There's something for everybody. There's no pressure, I find, in trying to hoard you or herd you wherever you want to, or they want you to go. It's very free and expressive, and there's something for everyone, which is what I really like. And I truly enjoy that they do go above and beyond our industry, because we have to look at everything in the world in order for us to learn. So that's me as an attendee.
Okay, well, I got a question that came in, and I promise we'll get to the Learning Lab and the Tech Central stuff, and this might be related, but I have heard this word buzzing around, so it's a good time for this question. What are brain dates? So I'm hearing brain dates in relation to convening leaders. What is that?
Well, brain dates is a combination of peer learning and networking type of experience. So in advance of convening leaders, what we've done is given all of our registrants access to an online platform where people can create their profile and be able to go on and see all the different sort of topics that people put on sort of that platform, because really the intent is to connect people one-on-one on a similar topic of interest, so they can come to convening leaders at a scheduled time and go on a brain date. So that's a 30-minute scheduled time during the program, and you don't have to be an expert in something. You just have to be passionate about it, whether it's something industry related or a personal passion or interest. We saw this in action at C2 Montreal and a few years ago, and that's a pretty remarkable event. And so we had a chance to see it in action and thought it's really challenging to do crowdsourcing for 4,000 people. It is, and we typically have done that at EDUCON. So when I thought, okay, we can have the opportunity to do this and really help people customize and curate their networking and learning experience, I thought we have to do this, and it's going to really allow people to get exactly what they want and what they're looking for, and hopefully be connected with someone who they can continue a business relationship with and build into their network. So E180 is the company we're working with, and they're doing more and more of the more and more brain dates with different industry organizations. But if you're coming to convening leaders, I really urge you to check it out. A number of folks have gotten on the platform and submitted offers and requests for knowledge and have already been scheduling brain dates. And cool. If you missed the platform, you can come to, in the Learning Lab on level 1, they have a brain date lounge where you can, the matchmakers, that's their name for their on-site support, brain dates. So their matchmakers will help sort of facilitate that meeting, and you kind of go there and they connect you with the person you have brain date, and then you go and talk for 30 minutes.
And awesome. How many of those sessions are you doing?
Well, it's I think it's really based on demand, and we have a couple of spaces in the convention center that are set up with twosies and sort of places where people can connect. So we're ready for as many as get scheduled. So it's throughout the event. It's open except for lunches and main stage sessions, Monday the 9th through Wednesday at about 10 a.m. On the 11th.
And folks are just wondering that those are one-on-one, or can it be a group? If there was a bunch of people that all wanted to talk to someone, speak on a certain topic, is it one-on-one only, or could there be possibly a group?
It's primarily one-on-one. What we've talked to E180 about is that if there's a topic that's just hot and there's a group of people that want to get together and talk about it, maybe doing some type of an impromptu small group brain date, and just, we're kind of playing that by ear, but it's primarily one-on-one based.
Sounds like a meetup, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or certainly could evolve into one, that's for sure.
Oh, it could, for sure. Yeah. For some topics, I would expect so.
Oh, exactly.
It sounds like a great idea to like you say, take the idea of crowdsourcing, crowd shaping events and try and make it on a more personal level that you can do in a larger group organization. All right, I promised we would get to the Learning Lab in Tech Central. So tell us a little bit about that, and then maybe Shannon, you've done some work with the Learning Lab, so maybe you can expand on that.
For sure. So my specialty is really focused on the tech central side of things, and so because my background's in tech, so if you don't know Dalia Algazar, you definitely have to get to know her, either in person, online. She's probably the most sociable person in our industry and the most connected person, I would say. But beyond that, she is a tech guru and evangelist. She's who I want to be when I grow up. So definitely take a look into Dahlia. And so this really came from her brain, and making tech accessible and building an environment where people feel comfortable to come and either ask questions, learn about specific technologies, whether they be social media, LinkedIn. She has an awesome LinkedIn corner, or Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook, whatever it may be, and basically giving you the high level, not only experience, but also what's new, how to use it, and there's no such thing as a silly question. So what she does is essentially gather all of the thought leaders and industry experts under each of these topics, and she brings them together at Convening Leaders. And exposes us. I'll be working with her for Convening Leaders, and basically allows us to educate the 4,000 attendees at Convening Leaders. And it really gives back to us as well, because we get a better understanding from a tech perspective of where the market is and how we need to help educate them and speak to them for the coming year. Any possible ideas. Also within Tech Central, she brings together the latest technologies and the vendors who stand behind them. So you get a chance to experience those technologies, whether they be apps or beacons or who knows what. And it's also a fun playground. There's always contests going on. This year there's talk about drones. She makes it a real experience and something you don't want to miss, or you have to be a part of.
No, exactly. And Dahlia has some really special things planned this year. There may be some drone races, and you can come fly your own drone, or right. And there's sort of meet your own hologram, and you get the chance to experience virtual reality and artificial reality.
Yeah,
And
we shouldn't say too much. We
I know.
shouldn't say.
See, this is why you're on. See, this
leave
is
them
why
wanting.
you're on here.
Leave them wanting. Leave them
Right?
wanting. So
You
Dahlia,
can go to the website. This is all going to be on there.
There's also
So,
education too, and to add to
yes.
that is she has a very, very specific focus and track that you're not necessarily getting in all the other sessions, but it's a focused area. So, if you want to get really in depth with tech, you can, or if you want to pop in and get some information here and there, you can. And it varies from, novice all the way to advanced. And if you want to have deeper conversations, then there's a whole slew of folks who are waiting and willing to have those deeper conversations as well.
And bring your own device. If you have any questions about any type of event or personal tech, there's a tech bar, and there's going to be experts there to answer your questions. And sort of there's going to be a social media area. So if you want to get a refresher or get a one-on-one on Snapchat and some different tools, you can do that. So it's like Shannon said, it's a playground. There's so many different fun elements and cool things, and then sessions in the clinics and in the Tech Talk stage. And this year we're doing Dolly's put together a tech pitch type of a session, kind of a la Shark Tank-ish, with different tech providers, kind of putting together and delivering a pitch on their tools to a panel of judges. So that's a different element this year, but Tech Central is definitely something to check out.
very nice. All right, so Dahlia heads up Tech Central. What about the Learning Lab? What can you tell us about that?
So the Learning Lab at the Austin Convention Center is really spread out in terms of the different floors of the event. So really the Learning Lab is different areas that focus on content in terms of design, wellness. There's a social media command center that links back to Tech Central, and so you can see behind the scenes kind of what's happening in terms of PCMA's social media presence for convening leaders. There's also a content development best practices lab, which is an area where there's interactive touch screens that twice a day, the content changes, and it really focuses on speaker or content curation best practices, committee management, and speaker development. And there's really great downloadable resources on those touch screens. And there's an area where called the Experience Insights Lab, and it's powered by Freeman, and you get to go in and kind of go through an experience to learn more about event strategy and design and how you can enhance the experience of your attendees, whether it's through your educational offerings and what you can use in your sessions, and kind of see how we work with our speakers and kind of our speaker lab area where you can kind of see that behind the scenes. It's just a lot of interactive different touch points and kind of at your own pace content. And brain dates, as I mentioned, is part of the Learning Lab experience. So that will be something that you definitely can't miss.
All right, well, we want to remind everybody, if you guys have a question for Carrie or Shannon, please be sure to punch them in there and go to webinar, or you can tweet to the hashtag event icons. That's one of the convenient things of having the hashtag in the name of your show, is that there's no confusion about what hashtag you're supposed to use. So feel free to shoot us something on Twitter. Alex will be able to forward it to us and make sure that we're getting it and getting those questions on. We do have a question coming in for Twitter that if we wanted to follow PCMA convening leaders on social media, what hashtag would we be following? Will there be social media contests?
So it's hashtag PCMACL, and we have a Facebook page, and see, this is why I need to have my marketing folks on here too. And on the app. So if you're participating in the event and you download the app, there's an area where you can access all the different PCMA sort of handles or everything on social media. So there's a couple different ways to access that.
And do we know if there'll be contests?
Well, Alex, is it...
Blink twice if you think there's going to...
In my experience, there has been. The vendors are always nutso on getting people involved in social and attracting people to have those conversations. So even if it's not through PCMACL, it might be through the vendors.
It's true.
Okay, well, we have to start winding down. I told you this hour goes fast. It's unbelievable. So we want to... I think we've learned a fair amount about convening leaders. I have to admit, like I said, I've always heard good things, and it certainly sounds like it's not going to disappoint. So
are you going to sign up?
It's a little late at this point. I don't know that the flight will be very cost beneficial at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, Nashville 2018. Okay, Nashville's a good town. I will have to make that make a note of that. So yeah, everybody check it out. If you can't, some of the sessions are going to be live streamed. Is that correct?
Yes, so that's what we call our Convening Leaders Live, and so there's our main stage sessions. There's also interviews in our hybrid mashup studio in between sessions, and that's speakers and different industry thought leaders that they're going to be interviewing in the mashup studio. Only the virtual audience gets to see those, so that's a exclusive experience for that remote audience. And then during the session time slots, it's 2 sessions a time slot to choose from. And then at the end of each day, there's typically a virtual happy hour, so you can network and kind of and engage with the other participants. So it's like I mentioned before, it's last year we had, I believe, close to 1,500 participants, and it's a really interactive chat during the sessions, and it's really engaging, and it's a pretty lively group. So if you can't make it, Brant, to Austin, maybe
You had me at happy hour.
Exactly. Maybe you should check out Convening Leaders through our digital event. So.
And it sounds like our UK friend has already signed up for the live stream. So
oh, wonderful.
they'll be joining you guys there as well. So yeah, if you're going to be in the Austin area, January 8th to 11th, sounds like you should definitely check it out. I'm assuming tickets are still available.
Yes.
All
yes,
right. Well, I want to let's leave that part of the discussion and get into kind of our closers here. Shannon, where do you see yourself as you kind of progress? Are you sticking around with PCMA? What do you want to do as you move forward with the association? Where do you see yourself going with PCMA, and where do you see PCMA going as it moves into the future?
For sure. I definitely see it evolving. Where I'd love to see there be a little bit more focus is pulling in some of our younger folks. Some other groups are definitely doing a great job, and I would hate to see, my generation not have the same opportunities. I tell everybody I meet at staff about this, and they definitely are listening, they're hearing, and there are some strategies going on, and definitely one of those proud supporters. Where I would love to see myself going is really just continuing to be involved. There's so many opportunities for me to learn and contribute, so I'd love to be a part of some other committees. I was a chair this year, and so that was a really, really great learning and leadership opportunity. And eventually I'd love to contribute from the board level or executive board level for headquarters. That would be awesome.
I know a lot of event and associations in general are struggling with that. Groups, organizations of all kinds are struggling with that. How do we get new members in, and then how do we keep them engaged and keep them involved? Carrie, is there anything that you can say about the future of PCMA and where it's going? I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but what are you guys doing to try and attract new members, keep them, and where's the future?
Well, it's really thinking about how people consume content and around the world. And so we're putting more energy and effort to looking at different markets and different target audiences within those markets to how do they want to engage? How do they want to learn? How do they want to network? What type of experiences are they looking for? And just making more of an effort sort of across the board with some of those different audience segments of if people want to engage and listen to podcasts or webinars or just face-to-face, just kind of making sure those opportunities are available year-round and really making it more of a year-round comprehensive experience, so people, it's not just event to event. So that's really the direction that we're going into, and as I said earlier, really looking more at outside of North America markets and regions, and what I'm excited about from an education perspective is learning more about how different cultures and different groups want to learn and how they want to experience events and engage with content. And so making sure that each program is tailored to those different audiences and their expectations is something that will definitely be working more on in the future, and I'm pretty excited about that. So.
I think it's interesting that a lot of what's been written about the quote-unquote millennial generation and what they want out of events really applies to anybody, and it's really what most anybody wants to get out of events. Now, that being said, like you say, there are important differences culturally, age-wise, between groups and how they learn, and being able to figure out those differences and how best to move forward with them is obviously part of the trick. Okay. winding down here. So I want to get to some of the fun questions that we have to ask on every episode of Event Icons because it's a rule. Oh. And that would be, we'll start with you, Shannon. If you could pick only one, what is your one tip you have for event planners?
Don't be afraid.
I don't know that I've got the, sorry, I didn't mean to stomp on you. What?
Don't be afraid of your vendors. They are your partners in success, and if you treat them as such, not only will they have your back, but they'll also be able to give you really good tips and tricks and ensure you're successful because they have a stake in your game.
As an old audiovisual guy, I can't agree with that more because when you get those, kind of adverse relationships between vendors and planners, it's just night and day compared to ones where you're seen as a partner and you're working together to make a better event. And in the end, it's the partnerships that always work better. So I couldn't agree more with that. Carrie, how about you? What's the one tip that you have?
If I can I add?
Yeah.
Sorry, but in all I already started. In all of what Carrie was focused on in the PCMA conversation, there was an underlying conversation on education. Vendors can provide that education 365 days of the year past your event. And even past, PCMA events or whoever else association's events, and they can reinforce those good habits and those successful tips, to get you to the finish line. And when you treat somebody as such, because at the end of the day, we're people. When you treat people with respect, it's a partnership.
Stay tuned for a coming episode, How to Save a Shit Ton on AV, #event. So just so you know, that is coming down the pipe. Carrie, how about you?
Well, it's more of kind of an overall thing to be mindful of is just having a solid understanding what your organization's goals and objectives are and how your events fit into that. And especially if you want to get to a place in your organization where you're at a high level and you want to get that seat at the table and be recognized and have your events recognized as really crucial to your organization and of value. So it's just really as you're networking, as you're looking at what types of sessions to go to, think about the strategy, think about the big picture. How do you fit into that, and what are some of the pieces or tools that are missing for you to get to that place? And just really keep thinking at a high level and how you can add value to your organization on a regular basis is something that's really important. And I don't know how many people do that, but just that's kind of an ongoing tip.
You know what? In all of the sessions that I speak at, that is definitely one of the first points that I cover. Often people don't understand why they are doing the events. It's basically, well, we've been doing this for years. So let's peel that back. And right now we're seeing definitely a shift in the industry where planners, so to say, are asked to be a lot more strategic. They're being asked to be marketing managers. That's definitely not something they went to school for. They know the logistics side. Well, guess what? Now you have to be strategic. How does it link back to your sales and marketing efforts as well? And how does that link back to the overall organization, even if you are an association? How does that affect your members? And so asking these questions and pushing the envelope, I would say that's an excellent one point to give to all of our planners.
And it's been a really nice shift to see in the industry, people taking more time to focus on the goals of the event and the whys of the event, and really adding that and making that part of the planning process and not just, oh, well, yeah, like you say, we do it every year, so we got to do it every year. And first Bob gets up and he welcomes everybody, and then we do the financial update, and then you can tell I do a lot of corporate meetings. So absolutely. All right. Now, here's the one that you've all been waiting for. Shannon, do you have any new and cool resources to share with the group? Websites, blogs, books, gadgets. It does not have to be technical in nature. Some of the best ones that have been given so far are actually not technical in nature. So what have you got for us?
I always have something exciting to share.
She's going to have good tips, and I may not have any.
The first is this website slash software that's now enabled me to be a graphic designer. And if you know anything about me, I'm definitely not that person. So canva.com, canva.com. For anyone who wants to, have those Pinterest-worthy events with all those cute details, like stationery, programs, gift wrapping, whatever it may be in your personal or your home life, canva.com. And what is so amazing about Canva is it's free, extremely easy to use with a drag and drop interface, and almost everything is templatized. So I don't have to be a designer at all. I just pick which design I like and basically change the words on it. So I really, really love that one. There, for all the people who are traveling in our industry, which is probably all of us, there's this really, really amazing new app called Hopper. And basically, has anyone heard of this? Okay,
Nope.
so Hopper is an app where basically it takes your travel itinerary. For example, if you're going to Convening Leaders Brand, and it monitors exactly the best time to purchase. So it'll send you alerts when it's high or when it's predicted to drop, and when it drops to its best possible price based on the algorithm of the trend that it sees, it sends you an alert, and then you can just press book right there. So that's really, really fun one. And then my last one, I recently got very, very obsessed into slow cooking. So for anybody who doesn't have any time, but also wants delicious food and is tired of eating out, get yourself a slow cooker and just get yourself a slow cooker recipe book. I'm old school. I want to feel the pages and, see the recipes. Dump it in at night, dump it in the morning, come back, and you have food for days, and you have amazing recipes that are super, super easy to make.
Very good, very good. I'll tack on to Hopper that Google Trips has expanded on that as well. So actually not the app, but if you go into the website and start messing around with their flight options, you can do some pretty amazing, like, if I wanted the shortest, fastest, cheapest trip to Vegas in December, and you could just start looking at all of the various options. You can narrow it down by airline, by which airline team that it's on. I got really sucked into that one day just looking, because I'm like 1,700 miles short on my next award level. So I was trying to see, is there literally a flight that I could just go hang out in the airport lounge for an hour and then come back. But so I got really sucked into that. So yeah, in addition to Hopper, I'll have to check Hopper out. And the last one there was Canva.com. Yeah.
If I could give you a rebuttal to that one, I also play around with that one as well as Hipmunk. Google Flights is perfect for a bird's eye view to look at any date and all of the variety of prices. Basically, all around the world, you could figure out where you want to go. So I love that. But they are more expensive than Hipmunk and Hopper.
Interesting, interesting. I did not know that. What I love about Hipmunk is that it's got the option to sort by pain factor.
Agony.
How awful, agony factor. How awful is the flight? Okay, we got to start wrapping it up. Carrie, what about you? Have you got a new and cool resource? Remember, it doesn't have to be tech. What are you liking right now? What's working for you?
Look, we're almost out of time. No.
Look at the time.
Look at the time. So I think, because I'm in copywriting education brain mode, one of the things that I have access to that's really helpful is just kind of a tool that's just a link. It's from the Advanced Marketing Institute. It's a headline analyzer. So you can type in your title, or if you're writing an article or a session, you can type in the title and the audience, or type it's for, and then it gives you a percentage. And if it's a low on the percentage side, it's not as sort of stimulating enough for the audience. So it kind of lets you know, okay, this is kind of boring. You need to kick it up a few notches. And so I use it. I share it with my team, and it's sort of calculates the emotional marketing value score of what you put in. So it allows you to kind of say, okay, do I need to make this more interesting and captivating and kind of it kind of is a useful tool to have. So that's one of my go-tos that we've been using for this event and others. So.
On that topic, if you're into email marketing, there's this website called subjectline.com. Basically does the exact same thing and gives you a percentage and a score, and it tells you the reasons why you're not good, basically. So that might be one you guys might like.
Lots and lots of emoji. That's what I heard really works. Having lots of emoji in your subject line really gets people to open it. All right, guys, we have to.
Your next email, if it doesn't have all emojis, I'm not opening it.
Right?
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, guys, we got to wrap it up there. Our hour is up. I want to give you guys an opportunity. Carrie is the Senior Program Manager of PCMA. Carrie, where can people find out more about you or more about PCMA?
Well, you can go to PCMA.org. You can also go to conveningleaders.org and check out the schedule. If you aren't registered and still want to participate, you can get information on how to register for the Convening Leaders Hybrid. And if you are in Asia, hopefully some folks will be tuning into this, and you can, on our website, get information on how to access our delayed broadcast from Asia for Convening Leaders.
Very good. So we don't have to deal with lunch breaks that wind up in the middle of the night or anything like that.
Exactly.
All right. And Shannon D'Souza is the Director of Sales and Industry Relations for attendees. Shannon, where can people find out more about you?
Find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest.
Fantastic. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of Event Icons. Remember, you can always tell us what you like and what you don't like on hashtag Event Icons on Twitter. And we hope to find out more from more Event Icons as we move on. I don't really know if there's any closing words that I need to say, but I do have some wonderful closing music. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of hashtag Event Icons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway and join the Twitter conversation sponsored by Alex Plaxon and Little Bird Told Media. Just tag your post with hashtag Event Icons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on hashtag Event Icons.